This is messaging from Russia to NATO, saying we've got a very close handle on your infrastructure and where your dependencies are. We know where your vulnerabilities are, and that's quite a powerful message for them to send. Sort of despotic regimes like China and Russia, they have a sort of obsession with data collection. They want to know everything about everybody and everything, because you never know when it might come in useful. And who knows when or how they might use this information. But having the information, does undoubtedly give them a certain advantage if they've got a map of all our dependencies on undersea cables.
And although I'm yet to kind of, dig into the detail to this extent, presumably these sorts of operations will have ramped up since Russia entered into war. There'll be a concern by Russia that NATO will turn on them. So it's within their interest to try and make vulnerable as many of the NATO alliance countries as possible.
Yes, I think there are sort of 2 points to it. You're absolutely right. It's one thing that's just collection of information, because you never know when it might come in useful. But there's also a political and military pressure that comes about from operating close off our shores, getting a detailed understanding of our underwater dependencies. And this does put a certain amount of pressure. The fact that's been reported by the Scandinavian countries, it makes it into the headlines in our media. This is a way of saying, we're watching you, we know what you're up to. This is messaging from Russia to NATO, saying we've got a very close handle on your infrastructure and where your dependencies are. We know where your vulnerabilities are, and that's quite a powerful message for them to send.
Now, these ships have been identified as part of an investigation by journalists from Denmark, Sweden, Finland and Norway. So they were tracking the movements of these vessels. What will the UK be doing specifically to try and counteract or try and prevent any situation whereby those Russian ships will make us particularly vulnerable? How will the UK be fighting back against that?
Well, the answer comes at several levels. First of all, in terms of what's called critical national infrastructure, which includes things like undersea data cables and power cables. We need, there's been much debate about it in recent years. We need infrastructure, we need different sources of energy, different cable routes under the sea, alternative cable routes via satellite, alternative communications routes, and so on. So at one level, we need to build up our national resilience against any potential vulnerabilities. As to what we can do about it on a day-to-day basis, the chances are that the Russians, crafty though they are not actually breaking the law. These ships are merchant ships, not warships. They're free to move around in the North Sea as any other fishing vessel or merchant ship is able to do so. They can come in and make port visits if they go through the right registration procedures. So we can't actually stop them doing it unless they break the law. But what we can do is get an understanding of exactly what they are doing. And of course, to some extent, we're doing the same thing. The Royal Navy is just investing in a new ship that's actually been converted from a specialist offshore vessel to do our own surveillance and protection of undersea systems. So this is not unlike the Cold War, not trying to turn the clock back, but this is something, it's like a background activity that goes on day in, day out, data collection, information collection. There's a military expression, time spent on reconnaissance is seldom wasted. This is more time spent on surveillance rather than reconnaissance, but the principle is the same. They just want to get as better understanding as they possibly can of our infrastructure.